McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough. It is That Kevin Show, and we're glad to have you with us. My next guest is no stranger to stage, film, TV screen. In fact, you've probably seen one or more of the things that my guest has been in, but he's got a brand new drama that's come out with Great American Pure Flix, and we're excited to talk to him about it today. Ladies and gentlemen, put it together and welcome Harry Lennix. Hello.
Great to be with you, Kevin, and you and your guests.
Well, we appreciate you making time for us. Now, you've done a boatload of things across the spectrum. I'd love to ask actors this. I was business partners with Stephen Baldwin for about 10 years, and every time I'd meet an actor that had done multiple disciplines, I would always ask him, what's your favorite? Film, TV, stage? What do you like most?
Well, I think these days, and I think the answer would have changed when I first started out, it was theater. It was 100% back in those days. And then it became film probably in the last 10 years, although, I've been doing TV. So yeah. I think really not much distinction anymore between TV and film. They're making less films, it seems, and more quality TV. So
well, what's interesting, I'm glad you used that word, because my bride and I have had this running debate frequently in recent months. But I, for the longest time, was just a huge fan of film, and I would try to see nearly everything that came out. And then when the streaming thing started to take off, at first, it was like the streamers didn't really understand what the power of their advantage was. But they quickly came around to understanding that you could do, a book or a series of books in 8 to 10 pieces much more thoroughly and just as high quality as you could, in a 2-hour condensed version on the big screen. And television kind of overtook the film in terms of the really highest quality productions that I think that we end up, at least as a couple, enjoying the most these days. I mean, we still look forward to the big blockbuster and the next big whatever it is that's coming out. But there is something magical about what TV has become, is there not?
I quite agree. I think long form storytelling at a high level is the way of the future. It certainly seems to be dominating the present. Even when they make those big tentpole movies that you're referring to, they're always sort of made with the idea of serializing them.
Yeah.
Right? All kinds of prequels and sequels now, and so it really too is long form storytelling. But yeah, to condense it in terms of its availability, I think is the ingenious innovation of streaming.
Well, they're going to do. I think they're going to redo the Harry Potter series and break it down from whatever it is, 7 films now to, a 15 or 20 part story and it just gives them more time. You get more time to delve into greater detail of the story.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you've been on so many things. You've done so many things. I remember seeing you on 24. I remember seeing you on ER. You were on a lot of shows I didn't watch, but your new one is with Great American Pure Flix, and it's called Destination Heaven. And I just spoke with Kevin Sorbo on That Kevin Show, 2 Kevins on the same Kevin Show. That was a good day, and he's excited to be part of it. What attracted you to this particular new project?
Well, I fell in love really with the relatability of God in it, and the way that people have a relationship with God, that he, in answering prayer, he shows up more or less in person. And I love that as a concept. It's something that the idea of which I've enjoyed in other things, such as, Oh God, which is a film I love, how God shows up, for example, in Evan Almighty and Bruce Almighty.
Yeah.
I love those kinds of relationship stories. And that's
is the God that you play mean, angry, super smart, kind of dumb? What kind of God do you get to portray in Destination Heaven?
Well, I think if it's any bad thing, then we stay away from it. Thomas Aquinas thought that God was all good things. He was all good, totally good, could only be good.
Yep.
And so I try to show up in a way that is relatable, patient, wise.
Funny? Because I think God's funny. I think there's a big chunk of God that we just don't even understand sometimes. He just loves to play practical jokes on us.
I personally think he's always playing practical jokes, but this guy, which is one of the other reasons I loved it so much, is that he has a good time. You know, he's having, you can have a easygoing, if you will, pleasant conversation with God, you know, no matter what the subject of the nature is, or nature of the subject is, that you can talk to him and it doesn't have to be tortured in any way.
Yeah. Well, I am glad to see that you're taking the character both seriously and not too seriously, because I really do think that, and as an evangelical Christian myself, I do think that there is more winsomeness to God than, sadly, most of the time Christians portray. And if we have the opportunity to demonstrate that winsomeness, the humor, the funniness, I mean, yes, there is a righteousness, there's a justice side to God. They can't be separated from his holiness, and it can't be separated from the totality of who he is. But God is also a father who seeks to know and love his children in a specific way. And I'm curious, how does the script for Destination Heaven allow you to kind of pull all of this out of your character?
Well, whoever the people are, it was, I think, chiefly the work of Dean Batali and his team of writers. They clearly know Scripture, and they know both the Old Testament and the New Testament God. And the foundation of it really is the Old Testament God, this fatherly figure, you know, of some bodily, real substance. You know, of course, I love the idea that Jacob wrestles with God, you know, and that God shows up in person in the Old Testament rather a lot. And then he shows up in the person in the New Testament as Jesus, but with a relationship to that God in the Old Testament, who he refers to as father, as daddy, basically, in the Aramaic sense. And that kind of friendly, if you will, filial, paternal relationship is really the ideal one when we really get into a relationship with God. And so I take your point, Kevin, about that evangelical Christians or Christians writ large, you know, are long on the law and order part of God, and sometimes, but that I think really to lean in, if we could lean in more to what we see in Destination Heaven, which is the paternal child and father idea.
Well, it's a series that's playing on Great American Pure Flix right now. And Harry, congratulations on this and a total body of work that is really commendable. But I appreciate you putting more faith and family-friendly material out there. My audience certainly longs for it. And we're glad that you could stop by tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's great to talk to you.
You got it. Kevin, coming right back from Times Square. Don't go away.